Christmas is supposed to feel warm, magical, and safe. But the night everything went wrong for me. The snow outside didn't sparkle. It stared back. It began with a strange snowman that appeared in our yard even though none of us built it. It wasn't cute or funny. Its face looked sharp and wrong. Its smile stretched too wide, and its coal eyes stared directly at my window. Every night after that, the snowman kept getting closer to our house. People say holiday monsters are just stories, but based on what happened that Christmas, I'm not sure anything was a story at all, because when the snowman returns, it doesn't knock, it enters. I grew up in a small quiet town where winter meant heavy snow, warm cocoa, and neighbors decorating their roofs with bright lights. That year, Christmas break started early because of a massive snowstorm. My parents were happy, more time together. But something about that winter felt wrong. On the first evening of the storm, I looked out my bedroom window and froze. A snowman stood in our yard, tall and crooked, with stick arms pointed upward like it was summoning something. Its coal eyes were carved sharp and focused. It was staring at me. When I asked my mom if they built it, she laughed. We didn't even go outside today. But there were no footprints around it either. No tracks, nothing. That night the house felt unusually cold. I kept waking up feeling watched. In the morning, I checked again and felt my stomach twist. The snowman had moved. It was much closer to our porch. I ran downstairs and showed my dad. He claimed it slid in the snow because of the storm, but that made no sense. Snowmen don't move uphill toward houses. Still, he kicked it down and broke it apart. Or at least, he thought he did. At around 1 a.m. that night, I heard heavy footsteps outside. Not light like a person's, but slow and crushing. I peeked through the window and saw the snowman again. And this time, I swear I saw it straighten its head, like it had a neck. Minutes later, something started tapping at our front door. Slow, frozen knocks that turned into scratching. I sat awake, terrified, listening to the wooden door groan under pressure, as if something was pushing it. By morning, it was quiet. Outside, the snow was untouched except for a single melted patch, like something had stood there all night. Christmas Eve came. The storm calmed a little. My parents tried to make the house feel festive with cookies and music, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was still watching us. By evening, the wind howled again. Suddenly, the power went out. We lit candles, and the house felt darker than ever. Then a voice came from outside the door, a low, crackling whisper. "Let me in." My dad opened the door, thinking it was a prank, but no one was there. Only a tall shadow in the yard. He stepped outside with a flashlight and froze. The snowman stood at the far edge of the yard, but it was taller now. The size of a grown man, my dad shouted, but the snowman didn't move. Then the flashlight flickered. Each time it blinked, the snowman appeared closer and closer until it was standing right in front of him. My dad bolted inside and locked everything. Door, chain, chair, anything he could grab. The windows began to fog from the outside, as if something cold pressed against them while circling the house. Footsteps sounded on the roof. Slow, heavy. Something was climbing. A loud thump shook directly above us, followed by scraping. Then the chimney cracked. Hard, something was forcing its way down. We ran to my bedroom and blocked the door. Heavy, icy footsteps moved through the hallway. Then that same whisper came from right outside my door. "Cold. Wants. You." The handle shook, slowly at first, then violently. Then everything went silent. When we finally came out, every window in the house was wide open, and snow covered the floors in every room. The house didn't just feel cold, it felt invaded. The police came, searched everything, found nothing. No footprints, no intruder, and no snowman. That night, we stayed at my grandmother's house across town, but I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I heard tapping on the window. I pulled back the curtain, and my body froze. In the backyard stood the snowman, silent, tall, and staring. Its coal eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, its cracked smile sharper than ever. That was when I understood. It wasn't tied to a house. It was tied to me. Every winter, even after all these years, I expect to see that twisted shape again. Watching. Waiting. Because once it finds you, it never leaves. And when the snowman returns, it doesn't melt. It remembers. My grandmother tried her best to calm me, saying the fear came from the storm and sleepless night, but nothing she said erased the feeling that something outside was watching. Even with hot chocolate and warm blankets, my eyes kept drifting toward the windows, expecting the crooked shape of that snowman to appear. Again, at any moment, I didn't sleep that entire night, and when morning came, things only got worse. My dad called us outside with panic in his voice. Behind my grandmother's house near the edge of the woods, a new snowman stood silently. But this one was different from the one at our house. It was taller, bulky, made of uneven clumps of snow mixed with dirt, and although it had no face yet, 2 hollow holes were carved where the eyes should be. My grandmother brushed it off as a neighborhood prank, but even she looked disturbed. She walked around it slowly, studying the ground, and when she saw there were no footprints anywhere, not a single mark, her hands trembled as she rushed us back inside. As the day went on, the sky darkened far too early, like the sun was hiding on purpose. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the snow, and even birds stayed silent. My grandmother paced from window to window, murmuring worried prayers under her breath. Then she said something that made the hair on my arm stand. This isn't the first time. When I asked what she meant, she sat down slowly and told me that when my father was my age, something similar had happened. A snowman had appeared outside their house every night. It grew taller, closer, and more frightening as winter went on. My father never spoke about it afterwards, but she remembered everything. She said old stories described a winter spirit called the Snow Watcher, one that followed families and hunted children for warmth. The room fell silent. I could feel my blood turning cold when she looked at me and said, "It has chosen you this winter." Before any of us could even react, a loud crash echoed from the backyard. Something massive had slammed into the fence. My dad grabbed a flashlight and peeked outside. His whole body froze. The snowman now stood right against the fence, facing the house directly, and it had a face now. The coal eyes glowed with a dim, eerie light, and the jagged stick mouth curved into a broken, sharp smile. Its body looked bigger, heavier, almost as if it had devoured the snow around it. My grandmother screamed for us to lock every door. The house grew darker and colder as we shut every curtain. Soon, tapping began on the windows. Slow, deliberate tapping, like frozen knuckles gently knocking for permission. Then came the dragging, thin, icy fingers tracing the edges of the glass. The tapping suddenly stopped, but the silence was even worse. Moments later, something pounded against the front door so hard, the entire house shook. The pounding continued, slow but powerful, as if something huge was testing the door's strength. We bolted for the basement, but as we reached the stairs, the lights flickered violently, and the temperature dropped so fast it felt like the air was freezing inside our lungs. My grandmother yelled not to look back, but I did, and I saw the snowman inside the house. Its massive head and shoulders were squeezing through the broken front door frame. Its coal eyes burned like black fire, and its cracked grin revealed sharp icicle-like teeth hidden inside. It whispered in a scraping voice that felt colder than winter itself. Warm. My dad slammed the basement door shut and barricaded it with everything he could find. But the footsteps above us told us we weren't safe. They were heavy, slow, deliberate, and they were moving toward the basement. Then the handle began to rattle. At the same time, the small basement window frosted over as something huge pressed against it from outside. A shadow darkened the glass completely. My dad whispered in horror, "There are two of them." Long, icy fingers pushed through a crack in the window frame, searching blindly inside. We crawled behind old shelves, praying they wouldn't find us. Suddenly, everything went silent. No footsteps, no scraping, no tapping. My dad slowly checked the window. The shadow was gone. He checked the basement door. The handle was frozen solid, but the door remained locked. We stayed hidden until sunrise. When we finally stepped outside, 3 giant snowmen stood in a perfect line facing the house. All 3 had wide, cracked smiles and glowing coal eyes staring directly at me. My grandmother grabbed my arm and whispered that we could never stay there again. That very day, we packed up and left town. But even now, years later, whenever the first snow of winter falls, I always feel the same dread. Because somewhere near our new home, no matter where we move, there is always a tall, silent snowman standing alone in the snow, watching, waiting, smiling. Because once it finds you, the snowman always returns. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe to Dark Veil Storyline for more chilling tales.